All right, Shalom Israel. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Brakathum to all the brothers. Shalaki, let me get right. All right, Most High Christ. All right, Shalom Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Brakathum to all the brothers. Shalom Yahweh Shemar Latham Bashem Yahweh Shah to all the sisters. The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. This is the Friday night Lashawan Qadash class where we break down the scriptures from a linguistic perspective. You know what I mean? So that we can take back our culture and identity. As we say every, let me mute my phone. As we say every week, you know what I mean? We get in these scriptures, we learn these breakdowns, you know what I mean? We get out on the streets and teach. But if we neglect the language, then we're neglecting a big part of our culture. So that's why we do this every Friday. You know what I mean? We're going to get right into it tonight. Tonight, we're going to be going over, you know what I mean? Like last week we kind of was like reading through. We read through the scriptures in the Hebrew. Tonight, we're going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to add another layer to it just to see how it works. And, you know, if we need to take a step back, just let me know. But before we get into that, I want to see how well we know the Lashawan Qadash alphabet. You know what I mean? For the past couple months, to almost, you know what I mean, a year, I've been telling brothers, like, the first step to learning the Lashawan Qadash is to learn the Lashawan Qadash alphabet. And it's best to learn it by heart from A to Tha. You know what I mean? So you don't have to constantly look into your notes. The more that you can remember, about your language by heart, the less you have to reference while we read it during Sabbath service. And as we already know, Sabbath service is getting a little bit more intense, especially for, you know what I mean, the more established priests. Whereas, you know what I mean, at first we was kind of taking our time with it. But now everybody in the nation has to be on one accord as far as book, chapter, and verse, and the amount of verses that we go through each Sabbath service. So now you're put in a position where now you have to make sure you're keeping up, right? And if you're falling behind, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, then you kind of have to, you know what I mean, do the work that you got to do to pick yourself up so that you can keep up. And there's a lot of measurements that you could use to make sure to see whether you're keeping up or not. One of the easiest ones being the time. You know what I mean? Sabbath service, just like any other class, usually is no more than 2 hours. All right. It might go a little bit over, half an hour, maybe tops. You know what I mean? That's kind of excessive, even that. But 2 hours, 2 hours is usually our class time. So if you're going during your Sabbath service, if you're going anywhere over 2 hours, then you might want to, you know what I mean, take inventory of yourself and your knowledge of the Hebrew so that you can get on the same page with all your brothers. You know what I mean? Especially Saturday, we got camp. If you're a part of South Texas, you know, we travel to different cities. You know what I mean? So you got to make sure we getting that Sabbath service done. You know what I mean? As well as, you know what I mean, we might have students, brothers and sisters who not necessarily part of the school, but want to, you know what I mean, come and find out their culture, want to become, you know what I mean, troopers, officers, sisters in the school. And we want to make sure we polish up so that we can show ourselves to be professionals and show them that this is where they need to be. This is the home of the truth. I mean, it's kind of hard to make that argument when we get up on a podium as seasoned priests and we can't read our language, which we teach is our culture. You know what I mean? So to avoid looking crazy, you know what I mean? Just all of those things, you want to make sure you sharpen up on your culture. You know what I mean? With that, all right, so when I say I want to, let's see how well we know the Hebrew alphabet. I mean, like I said before, knowing the Hebrew alphabet from A to Tha without looking at your notes or at the board. So, for example, From Adatha is Abba Gada Hawaza, Khata Yacha Lama Nasa'ai, Pataza Kwa, Rasha, and Ta. All right, you should be able to do that. Uh, that's gonna be one of the first things that you should, make it a point to practice and have down pat. You know what I mean? And that's going once you do that, it's gonna make it easier for you to read, write, and speak the Hebrew from then on and learn more as we go. Use the resources, use the dictionary, to use the concordance. You're gonna need to know the Hebrew alphabet from A to Tha in order. You know what I mean? Just like how you use an English dictionary, it's in alphabetical order. So is the Hebrew dictionary. So uh, just just some things to keep in mind. All right, young man, you want to give it a shot from Adatha?
Order?
Yeah, in order. You feel comfortable with it?
I get a job, don't do it in order. I can recognize them, but I don't know if I can order like that.
Okay, no sweat. All right, you could try without your notes. Just try off the top of your head how far you can remember, and then if you got to, just let me know, and then you can look at your notes and look at the board.
I'll do the mic over here.
Oh, so Salaki, that's my bad. I forgot to put the mics out. All right, you good. All right, do your thing.
So on the con, first one would be Ba, Ga, Da. The next one would be Wa.
You missed one.
You missed one?
Yeah, you missed one.
Oh, Ha, Wa. Ka. Where's the four I can go right now?
All right, no sweat. All right, give yourself a hand. One time first. Excellent tip. All right, go ahead from Adatha.
Yes, it was
Ka. All right, just go from Adatha, looking at your notes or at the board or whatever you able to.
Ka. A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa, I, Pa, Taza, Kwa, Ra, Sha, and Ta.
Most High in Christ. All right, it's simple as that. All right, what I did, if you don't remember it off the top of your head, is I put a cadence to it. Like I put like with the ABC song, it's A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y and Z. You can do the same thing with the Lashawan Qadash alphabet. So you just look at first when you're studying, you look at it, do the cadence. So Abba Gada Hawaza Khata Yaka Lama Nasa'ai Pataza Kwa Rashata. And then you could just do that over and over. If you got it, at first I had to sing the alphabet to myself, you know what I mean, in my head, just to get used to the cadence, right? But that's a good way to remember it. So if you don't remember the Lashawan Qadash alphabet, just do it like that. Just that's a good way to do it. If any other brother or sister got a way that they maybe learn the Lashawan Qadash alphabet, you go and say so or put it in the chat. You know what I mean? Once you're able to see this, it's a lot. Let me turn this off. But yeah, that's a good way to go about it. All right. All right. Lucky. But all right, no sweat. Next, all right, so we just gonna jump in like we've been doing. One thing I wanted to do different was okay. So last week we just kind of read it. We kind of read through it. Uh, and if we needed to do any corrections, then what I mean, I jumped in or whatever the case was. If we needed to break anything down, we kind of went into it. Tonight we're gonna break it down line by line. So we're gonna read it just like we did last week, but also as you reading it, I want you to try to like break down and show you understand what you're reading and why you're reading it like you're reading it, why you're pronouncing it like you're pronouncing it. And if it's too, if it's too, if we need to take a step back and do it how we've been doing it, just kind of read through it just to get that muscle memory, then just let me know and then we'll dial it back a little bit. But I just kind of wanted to see if we could try to push ourselves to get to that level, because we already I see the progress. All right, see the progress in brothers and sisters. What you want to do once you're making progress, you always want to set goals and push yourself to reach that next level. So that that's how you're gonna get this culture. Get our culture and our language back, and get our oppressors' language out of our mouths. All right, so I'm gonna give the example. I'm gonna read the first one through, and then I'm gonna read the first one through, and then the second. I'm gonna read the first one through like we did last week, and then the second verse. I'm gonna read it through, and I'm gonna break down each line because this one look kind of long. So I'm gonna just go ahead and read through it. We're gonna be starting at Genesis chapter 8, verse 13, and ending on Genesis chapter 10 and verse 10. We might not get through all of those tonight, but you'll get an idea of what we're gonna be looking at. All right, so the book of Genesis chapter 8 and verse 13 in the Hebrew. Make sure you got Bible Hub out in front of you so that you can follow along. And once it's time for you to read, then you could be prepared to read. All right, so Genesis chapter 8 and verse 13 in the Hebrew. Give me a second. All right. Waya haya ba'achath shish was like a washisha. It's like a ma'awa shana bara'awa. It's like a bara'ashwan ba'achad lachadash ha-ra'awa ha-mayom ma'al ha-ratazal wa-asar was like a nak-ath makasa ha-thaba wa-yara'a wa-hana charabwa panya ha-adama. All right. All right, so for this one, I'm going to break down each phrase. All right. Waba Qadash. All right. Waba. Wa is and, preposition meaning and. Ba means in. Qadash means month. So Waba Qadash, and in month. Shanya, or it's Ha Shanya, right? Ha is a preposition meaning the. Shanya means second or two. All right. Bashabayl. Ba means in or on. Shabai means seven. All right. Or seven. Wa Aishariyum. Wa is a preposition that means and. Aishara, as we got on the board from last week, we put up the numbers. All right, from 1 to 10. So you got Achad, Shanya, Shalash, Arabai, Chamash, Shashai, Shabai, Shemawana, Thashai, Aishara. All right. So that's 1 through 10. And then Aishara Yum would be 20. All right. Which is 10 plural. 10 with a pluralized tense on it. 30 would be Shalash Yum. 40 would be Arabai Yum. 50 Chamash Yum. So on and so forth. So whenever you see Yum behind the number, just know we're talking about tens. All right, so why Arabai or Slakia, why Aisharayum. So and 20th. Yawam is day, Lachadash, the uh 2 or 4. So Lab means 2 or 4. Chadash means month. Again, a lot of these words become sight words. The more that you see them, the more you get that repetition in. All right. So Chadash means month. Every time you see it, it means month. All right. Wabasha. Let's select it. Yabasha. Let's see what. Okay, so Yabash. All right. Yabash is to dry with a servile tense behind it. And Ha Arataza. This is one that we see often. Ha Arataza. Ha means the. Arataza means earth. All right. Simple enough. All right. All right. So that's what we're gonna be doing tonight. Just going through each phrase and just breaking it down from, breaking it down just like how we did just now. All right. You wanna give it a shot, young man, or you want me to do another one?
Which one?
Verse. So we just read 13 and 14. Now we on 15. And this one should be real easy. This one repeats itself all throughout the scriptures. And this is a phrase as you read it. I'm just giving you a couple hints. As you read it, this should be a phrase that should be muscle memory over time. It's pretty much in every book of the Bible where the Most High is giving somebody instructions. All right, go ahead.
Where your double?
Con. You want to break it down, or you want to read it straight through?
I read it straight through.
Okay. You want to go back and break it down, or you don't want to do it?
I can.
Okay, most not correct.
I can try to do it. Yeah. Right. Come. Allahim.
Close.
Allahim.
You reading the Hebrew or the blue?
I try to read the blue too. Allah Halam. Allahayim.
Yum, Khan. That's it. Khan.
Allahayim.
Right.
Allah.
La'ah.
Al. Allah. Al.
Khan.
Al.
Khan.
Ka. Not.
Khan.
La'amar.
Khan. Whole time Christ. All right, you wanna go back and break it down, or you want me to?
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. Khan,
Real quick, so no, that's Banah.
La, where you at?
No, it's not.
You on chapter 8, verse 15?
Yeah, I'm at 15. I'm saying Noah. How you pronounce that?
Oh, Nach.
Nah. I don't know why I said that.
Or you want to break that down?
And the first one would be and, which would be wa, which is a preposition. And then spoke would be ya, yada, yada bar.
Not quite.
No.
So ya is another preposition.
All right.
Khan, select it, please.
See if you can do that.
Oh, okay, no sweat. Go ahead and do your thing.
All right. So wa is a preposition and ya would be what is?
It's
And he.
Khan.
And he spoke.
And he.
Khan. Yeah, Wayad and Wayad Dabar is gonna be something that you see often. Wayad Dabar, and he spoke. Wayad Dabar. You're gonna see it. That Y, especially that Wayad.
Oh yeah.
That Wayad. If you see Wa and Ya 9 times out of 10, it's Wa. Those are two prepositions. You'll see it often.
Then the root word we spoke would be The bar.
Con, the bar spoke. The bar spoke or speak, depending on how it's being used. Go ahead.
All I guess would be God is I guess it would be the complete root word.
Con.
So Allah Allahim.
Allahayim.
Allahayim.
Allahayim. It's angels, messengers, power, or authorities. Right? So Allahayim. Anytime you see Allahayim, it's talking about angels, messengers, powers, or authority. You know what I mean?
Next one would be two is to be the owl.
All meaning two. All right, go ahead.
Then next one is the word Noah, which is the kanat. Not.
Con. That's why if I turn this fan or
Con.
Y'all good still?
The next one would be say, be la. I guess would be two. Preposition. And then amor would be saying.
Amor
saying. Two saying.
So the phrase is, and he spake or the Most High or the powers to Noah to say. All right, that's the phrase in the direct translation in English, and it says, and God spoke to Noah saying. That's the English, but in Hebrew, and he spoke the powers to Noah to say. All right. So Wayad Debar, Allahayim al Nak La Amar. You might see different variations of this. So usually, like in Leviticus 23, you'll see Wayad Debar Yahweh al Mashah, because the Most High is talking to Moses, and it's the Most High's name instead of Allahayim. So you might see variations. So instead of seeing Wayad Debar Allahayim, you see Wayad Debar Yahweh, right? And then instead of Noah's name, you'll see Moses Mashah, right? La Amor. Right? Wayad Debar Allahayim al Nak La Amor. All right. So I'm you want to read the next one? You want me to take it? I'll take the next one. Unless you want to take it. Okay, no sweat. You go ahead. Read straight through.
Taza'a.
Taza'a.
Taza'a. Mana. Man. Ata. Bat. Ataba. Ataha. Ata.
Right, and if I could, real quick, when we see and tha next to each other, a lot of times we want to say atha for that word, but this is what atha looks like, what you just read. So if you don't see that ha at the end, it's right? But if it got that ha at the end, it's atha, meaning, and then you can see underneath the red, it means you, right? All right, go ahead.
Wa'asha. It is taka.
Ashafka.
Wa'asha. Taka. Is that right?
Wa'ashafka.
Waba na yak.
Close.
Waba na yak.
Well, remember that ya is just a buffer.
Waba yak.
All right. Go ahead.
His son is that's different. About brothers.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I got you. Waba.
Well, well, Slacky, what was you saying about? You said something about son.
Yeah, I thought it was Ak.
Okay, and that's brother, right?
That's brother.
So how do you say son in the Hebrew? That's how you. It's how you state your con. Yes, it's how you state your registry every Sabbath service.
Bond.
So you just read it like that.
Oh
Bond.
yeah, Waban Yak. Waban Yak.
Close. Remember that Yah is just a buffer. And then the ka at the end is a preposition. So you pronounce it by itself.
So Wabanka
Waban Yucca.
or Waban Yucca.
Ka. Waban Yucca. Right. Ka will be the preposition. That Yah will be a buffer between the root word and the preposition to make it flow a little better. So it's not so, so choppy. Right. So Waban Yucca.
Wanashaya.
One.
Well, Wanashaya.
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 Right. So wa will be the preposition meaning and. Nasha is the plural of wife. So wife would be Asha. Wives will be Nashayim. But in this context, he's saying that's a prep or it's like a possessive meaning my wife or Salakia, referring to his sons. And that's gonna be the next phrase, not to give it away. So Nashaya. All right, go ahead.
Banyaka.
Khan, person.
Ataka.
Khan.
That's it.
Afka, yeah.
Atka.
All right. Next.
Which one was that? You want to go back and break it down, or you just start over?
Well, I just went behind you and broke it down so we can.
Okay. 17. Call.
Khan.
Haka. Ya.
Khan. Ha meaning.
Ha meaning the.
Khan.
And then living. I guess living things would be kaya.
Khan. And that's a word that, especially in this particular part of the scriptures, you'll see that word a lot as well. Like me personally, I added that to my muscle memory, reading it I think last week. So I read it twice from I think we started in like chapter 4 and ended in chapter, or it's like it started in chapter 6 and ended in chapter 8. But reading it over and over, I had to read it on Tuesday doing a recording, and then I had to read it on Saturday. And just reading it just just seeing it over and over. That's one of the words that I added in my muscle memory. So chaya means living thing. Let me double check. Alive or living. All right, so chaya. All right, Salaki, go ahead.
Ashore.
Khan.
Athor.
That's exactly how you read it in the last chapter. You got it right in the last one.
Ataka.
Afka.
Atka.
All right, go ahead.
Makal.
Khan.
Bashar.
Khan.
Ba'ai
Ba'ai-wap.
Wap.
Khan.
Baba I'm Salaki. Wa Baba Ha Maha.
Wab
Wa Baba Ha Maha.
Waba Salaki Waba Hama. Bahama means livestock.
Waba.
Yeah, Waba Bahama.
Bahaman.
Khan.
Baba Bahaman.
Khan. Bahama is the root word that means livestock. All right, which will mean that the first two are
Preposition.
yeah. All right, go ahead.
Waba Call.
Uh-huh.
Hara Ma Hara Masha.
La. Take the A off the last part.
Hara Shum.
Uh Haramash.
Hara Mash.
Ramash means creeping thing. And ha is a preposition meaning the, so the creeping thing.
Hara Mash.
Uh,
Al
uh,
Ha'al Ratazar.
uh,
Wait.
What that is in that bracket? Yeah, read that.
you could read it. I'm not sure exactly what it is. There's no definition. There's no definition underneath. I clicked the concordance code, and there's no concordance code for it. So I'm to be honest, I have no idea what that is. Let me take a screenshot so I can ask. But it looks like ha.
Yeah. Ra Tazara. Tazara.
Well, that's pronounced taza.
Taza.
So ha wa taza.
Taza. Ara Taza.
All right, taza. All right.
Ara Aya Taza.
Take a screenshot of Slovakia. Oh wait, how you have taza? Okay, I got a concordance code on my end.
You got one?
Let me see.
For the
Yeah,
second one is one, not the first one. In brackets.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, it's the same thing that's in the brackets. Slovakia. Oh.
The one got yeah, one got one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me ask about this. But all right, go ahead.
Adar Askalagia. Ataka.
Athka.
Atka.
Remember that ath without a ha at the end is, or that at and tha next to each other without a ha at the end is ath, and then ka. Remember, ath just joins two things, or like a lot of times, like when you see here, it means like with, like it's implied or it's used as with.
So it's Atka.
Athka.
Atka.
Because the ka is a Salakia. Ka is a prep or possessive. So you pronounce it like you would any possessive and you just say its name.
Washar Tazarwa. Say that right.
Let me see.
Washar Tazar.
La'a. This is you just read it just like you'll read like using those 4 steps. It's real nothing tricky about it. So using those 4 steps, you got a root word and then the first character usually
The preposition.
and the last character is the possessive. Then you just read it just like that.
So one Shoratazar Wa.
Close. What you I noticed that you put a R at the end of Tazar. Like instead of saying Tazar, you say Tazar.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So there's no R at the end of
Oh, that's
Tazar.
what I'm getting at. That New Orleans stuff to it.
Oh, word! I didn't know that was okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm at my own enunciation. That we say instead of orange, we say orange.
Oh, okay, got you. Got you. Well, yeah, once you just be aware of that, just Tazar.
Thank you for pointing that out, because I'm trying to get why short Tazar why.
Wah, it's like it. Washarataza. Wa. Right.
Ba'a Rataza.
Rataza. You know what that means?
On the earth. Rataza is earth.
Rataza.
Rataza.
Rataza. It's one of those words. Again, you'll get familiar with it. Like it's used so often, especially in Genesis, but it's used so often. Every time you see it, like I almost don't even read it. Like I know it's a Rataza. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Waparwa.
Con.
Wa'abar.
La'a.
Wa'abawa.
Con. Rabawa.
Wa'abawa.
Rabah. If you click on that concordance code, it'll give you the root word. It'll be rabah with a ha at the end. But a lot of times when a word ends with a ha, when a word ends with a ha, when you add a possessive or a tense at the end, that ha will a lot of times drop off visually, but the sound will still be there. Like I'll show you. It'll be a couple examples, but just for practical, just to make things practical, easy to pronounce, or easy to to read and write, they'll just drop off that ha, just like we do today. Like when we talk to each other, how we used the example last week, instead of saying going to, we say gonna. Our culture does that a lot of times. Right, so even though you don't see that ha there, you still pronounce it wa, rabah, wa. Right, because the ba already makes it already makes that ah sound. So adding a ha there would be kind of redundant, and that's another thing as well. Like when you see certain characters drop off, or when you see certain characters drop off, it's to avoid redundancy. Like to make sure we're not doing things that are redundant or confusing. That's why, again, shalom is the perfect example, right? Like, because you will see shalom in the scriptures, but it's shalom with a doing tense in the middle. And you'll use that for a specific reason, but to avoid redundancy or confusion, we just say shalom. That's our culture. You know what I mean? So, again, that's just an example, and that's how you know that shalom is correct and not shalom. You know what I mean? It's just like you ever hear like what's it called? Like oppressors try to speak so-called slang. They'll try to speak like us, and they'll, even though they say it, it's like you can tell it don't belong to them. You know what I mean? For lack of, I can't really give no better example, but it's like when somebody say shalom, it's like seeing some oppressor come up to you and be like, "Hey, what's up, dog?" You know what I mean? It's that same spirit. You know what I mean? Where they trying to use the language, but they don't understand the language, and the language is not for them. So they might be saying the slang, but it sound goofy coming out of their mouth. That's the same spirit as shalom, right? But Salakia, not to get too far off topic, but
so the other one would be owl.
Meaning what?
On.
The
other one would be Taratazar.
Lord willing, that'll be a word that you just don't even
Yeah, I already got that one down.
you don't even read.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of these words, like a lot of these words, like especially during Sabbath service, like I just kind of glance down at the red, and like sometimes I'll read the wrong word. Like in this chapter, uh, the word for ground and earth are used interchangeably. So sometimes you'll see instead of the earth, it'll say, so the word for earth is aratazah, the word for ground is adamah. So when it says the water was on the face of the earth, what they're really saying in the Hebrew is on the ground, in the dirt. So I'll see earth in the English and I'll just say aratazah, and then I'll go back and double check, and the word is adamah, just because, just from muscle memory. But long story short, like that's how to start to beat over time once you start to memorize what words are. Like I'm gonna read this one real quick just to show you what I mean. So verse Genesis chapter 8, verse 18. Wa yataza'a nak wa ban yawa salakia wa shakiwa wa nashaya ban yaka afwa. All right. Uh, and a lot of like, so I already know waya. We already talked about that. When you see wa and ya next to each other in front of a root word, waya. You know what I mean? They just go together anytime you see them. And then taza'a will be what's left over. So that'll be went, if I'm correct. You know what I mean? I can make that assumption. To double check, I'll click the concordance code. Ya taza'a is to go or come out. All right. All right. Knock, we already know that's Noah's name. So I see the word Noah in the English. I know knock is Noah. So don't have to spend too much time on that. And then I know Bun is son. So I know I'm gonna see Bun somewhere in here. So Wa Bun, and then Yawa is his sons. That Wa at the end is his, that Ya is a buffer. Salakia. The next word is wife. So I know Asha or some variation of it is gonna be there. So Wa Ashath Wa. Right? Con. So Ashath Wa and his wife. And Nush. So I see wives here in the English. So I know the plural is an irregular plural. So instead of Asha, it's Salakia. Nasha Salakia. It's Nashayim. Right? But a lot of times, like when you see a ya at the end of something, it's just talking about ownership. Just general ownership. All right. So it's usually used as a possessor to be me or my. But when you see a ya, it also just means ownership. That's why it's used as a buffer, right? But wa nasha ya, and now we're talking about who has ownership or possession over these wives, and he's talking about his sons. So bun is son, ya is the buffer, and then wa is the his, right? That buffer just indicates again ownership. All right. So bun yawa. Yawa. You'll get pretty familiar with that buffer as well. Like it'll just roll off the tongue. Like you'll see it often in the scriptures. Like it's used often. Uh since we're not like we don't really practice with it. We don't really practice with it a lot talking to one another as we should. Uh we're not really familiar with it unless we go into scriptures. But hopefully, the goal is to change that. Again, the goal of what we're doing now, how we teaching and reading the Hebrew and how class is conducted and how Sabbath service is conducted now. The goal is to move forward to conversational Hebrew. All right. So eventually, in the near future, Lord willing, that buffer will be more, it'll be more fluent. So you'll start to see yaka, yawa, ya nawa, you'll see that buffer before preposition or possessive that we used to, I mean, we should be pretty familiar offhand with the prepositions and possessives. Now you just throw that buffer in there, and then it'll just become familiar. All right, Salaki, and then afwa, same thing I was telling you earlier, young man. Just that af means, it's usually when you see af by itself, is to join one thing to another, like a subject to the the what's the word, the person to the subject, right? And
So like this, man. So you on right now? You're on with him.
God,
So you would say atawa
af afwa,
atwa
God, afwa, God,
atwa.
yeah.
You combining at and wat.
No, so that
So
you're saying af, which is just a word that's typically doesn't have a definition. It just joins it just no. Okay, this is a perfect example. All right, so I click the concordance code, and here's the so af. It's denoting proximity. Denoting proximity. That's the
I gotcha. I see it. At.
Gotcha. And the simply put, the definition is with. So, but typically it's just used to denote proximity. So it's used to join one thought to another. A character, or not a character. This ain't no storybook. So wa. So you just say af, and then you add the possessive. Right. And that I know you getting pretty familiar with that af. You know what I mean? You see it a lot.
I got it.
Yeah. Now we're adding we're adding possessives to it.
So the same thing is
That's all it is. Just that's all it is. It's the same thing that we've been doing this whole time. We just combining concepts. You learn one concept, then you learn another concept, then you learn another concept, and then when you read or speak the language, you're just combining the concepts where appropriate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right. So, all right. But you want to take the next one?
There's you talking about animal, so be
in verse 19.
Call ha
yeah, close. Ha chaya. Chaya. Remember, haya with a ha. Haya is be. Chaya is living thing.
See.
Ha, like ha. Chaya.
So like this. I thought there was I used to be lying. My bad.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, ha chaya.
And it's funny, since we on the topic, like I already mentioned earlier, that if you read it from Android, the characters look a little bit different. I got an Android, but if you on Apple or you on like a laptop like I am right now, as a matter of fact, since
I thought it was hot twice.
Yeah.
So
like if you like you see the character change. Let me take these off for a second. Like you see the characters and the penmanship change. I'm not gonna lie, like since I've been so used to reading from my Android, reading from the super detailed, you know what I mean, the penmanship, it kind of throws me off as well. It might help. I'm not sure. I mean, I know brothers don't want to get Android. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Apple users, but they do not rock with Android. I mean, Android user use whatever, but you know, but yeah, not just having access to both penmanships, it might be beneficial to get used to reading it because you never, you know what I mean, you never know. Especially once we start writing the Hebrew, because you know what I mean, you think your English penmanship is bad. Wait till you get to writing this Hebrew. You're gonna have to get used to reading and writing other people's, or reading and you know what I mean, reading from other people's penmanship. Like, it's gonna get crazy. So it would behoove brothers to get used to seeing the different penmanships. Well, Salaki, not to hold you up.
All right, call How much?
How
How much?
cuz cuz
Uh, 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 Wakal.
cuz
How wap.
cuz. I wop means bird. It's gonna be one of those, one of those words as well. Reading Genesis, well, we already went through Genesis 1, but reading Genesis, you'll learn a lot of like basic words like bird, tree, earth, heaven, water. You know what I mean? Words like that you'll see often. But Slacky, go ahead.
Uh, Call.
Uh,
Uh, wa, Wamash. Ra, ra, Mash.
Con, and it's Ramash with a Y in the middle, doing tense in the middle. That Ra and Wa sometimes can be difficult to pronounce together, but that's all it is. Ra, Wamash. It's
Wamash.
Con.
Uh, oh, ow.
Con. Al means on or over.
The
All right.
ow out is all.
All right. Now you have some fun with this one. Go ahead.
Oh, man. Um, let's get this. All right.
Ooh, let me see.
Lamar, Lamash, Lamash, Paka, the, the Ya, the Ya, the Yama,
All right, let's
the Yamash.
take this one step at a time. And like what you're gonna realize, like if you just take it one step at a time,
All right,
you use this. Don't forget one thing. The men above me always talk. Never forget what you already know. Try to learn something new. All right. So this word got how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 characters. But just follow me real quick. All right. 9 characters. All right. But how do you break down anything? Any phrase in the Hebrew?
Try to recognize the preposition
Uh-huh.
and try to identify the root word. So use your first character is going to be a preposition. So, but how do you know? I guess you look at the words you read to decipher is that first character is a preposition or no?
So what you would do, uh, the first, if you like if you know words just from muscle memory, like if you kind of like you're not gonna remember every word, but you can look at the word at the bottom, but that's only if you know the word in your what I mean from memory. But if you don't know the word from memory, uh, you just like when I see family, I know the word is long. I don't remember the word offhand, but I know the word is long. So to refresh my memory, I just clicked on the concordance code, just like we did when we first started. When y'all first started coming to the Hebrew class, you just click the concordance code to find the root word, and the root word is you want to try to work through that root word.
It would be ma, masha, mash, 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 mashpa, mashpaka, mashpaka,
Mashapaka,
mashapaka.
and it's from the word shapaka. It's just the ma in front of that word. Now remember what when we was talking about the prepositions. Uh, when you add a ma in front of a root word, it becomes a new word. Like shapat is judge. Ma shapat is from a judge. What comes from a judge? Judgment.
Judgment.
So ma shapat is judgment. You wouldn't pronounce that new phrase from a judge. It's judgment. And that's how the ma works. So mashapaka is just adding sha, or it's like adding ma in front of shapaka, right? Just like mayum. Mayum is just adding ma in front of yum, right? So yum is sea. Mayum is from the sea or water, right? But okay, so the root word is mashapaka. That's how you know it's pronounced like that. Just from knowing the function of the. If you don't have it in your notes, I would make like a star next to it, or like a circle it, or whatever you got to do to indicate when you add this to the beginning of a root word. It changes the root word to a whole different word. And the sha does the same thing. Like the difference between mayum and shamayum is the sha in the beginning. So it's the same function. All right, so now we know that the root word is mashapacha, right? Now you just add your prepositions, possessives, and tenses. All right. It's like it, priest. Did you want the never mind.
Lashapaka, Yaha, Yahama. So you pronounce ma at the end.
La. So
Yaha. So you say Yaha. You got ma.
Yahum.
Yahum.
Hum. Yeah. Hum means there or them. I believe. Let me that notebook over there.
Yamatapaka. Yahum. Yahum.
I'm gonna read it as is, and then I'm gonna break it down. Let me double check. Yeah, hum is they. Hum. Before we remind me about 8:30, I'm gonna put it on the board. Oh, what you think? You want me to leave the numbers up there, or you want me to put this new thing up there? If you want me to, if you haven't got,
I guess you could. I think we took pictures. I don't know. Your man Ron got pictures. I got in my notes.
Okay, no sweat.
I think I don't know if Officer Abiar got it.
Okay.
I think he does.
Okay, Most High Christ. Okay, no sweat. Well, if you want to put this what I'm about to tell you, you want to put it up there?
Oh, it comes, sir.
Okay, no sweat. All right, so hum is just like do you remember how to say I? So as a preposition it's ah. But as a like a word, like okay, for example, like to say you, it's it is salakia. Tha as a preposition. Atha is the formal way to say you. So when we salute one another, we say Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Barakatha. All right. Same with Anya. You can say or you can say Anya. Anya is just the formal way to say I. This is the formal way to say them. Right? And I'm gonna put it on the board later. All right, so that's what you're looking at. All right, so we got the root word mashapacha. All right. So I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna and I'm gonna break it down. So la mashapakath yakum. La mashapakath slakia. La mashapakath yakum. La mashapakath yakum. That's the phrase. All right. The la in the beginning means two. Mashapaka is the root word meaning family. The tha at the end is categories. Right? So you got different types of family. That's what the tha indicates. Different types. So you got, well, what types of family you got? You got brothers, you got sisters, you got mothers, fathers, grandparents. You got different categories of family. I mean, daughters, sons, wives, husbands, different categories of family. So that's what that thought indicates. So la mashapakath. And then the ya is a buffer. And then hum means them or they.
All right, got you. So you say ya by itself,
Khan,
then hum.
Khan,
All right.
yahum,
So you have to know as a buffer.
Khan.
I was trying to say with the ya, trying to say with the ya. I say ya hum. I got you. I got it. All right.
So it's la mashapakath yahum.
All right.
All right. And just like, I mean, again, this phrase had 9 characters in it, but it's like all you got to do is just use the steps that we've been using from the beginning. Like I didn't do nothing different. I didn't do nothing special. I just use those steps. You find the root word. It's usually 2 to 3 characters. This one has 4 because it has a ma in front of the root word. All right. So 2 to 3 characters. Pronounce the preposition, pronounce the root word, and then added the tenses. That's all I did. I didn't do nothing outside of those 4 steps, which is why that's the foundation, which is why at the beginning of the classes when y'all first started, we would constantly go over that. Every single class, we would constantly go over it because it's going to be your foundation. So when you run into words like this, you can just go right back to your, you know what I mean, right back to the milk and learn something new. All right.
All
right, you go ahead. Salakia.
Yatazawa.
Khan. Yataza.
Yatazawa.
Khan. So yataza means to go. Right? To go or come out. Let me double check. Yep. To go or come out. Yataza means go or come out. And wa means it. All right. Go on. Man. Khan. I believe this means of or from. Of or from. Now the English underneath can kind of trip you up. Like you're reading I wish I could remember in the book of what's the book in the Apocrypha they call sometimes called Sirach. What book is that? Is it Ecclesiastes or Ecclesiasticus? But at the beginning, whichever book that is, I can't remember. Whichever book that is, though, there's a preface and it kind of goes over the Hebrew. And the people who are translating the Hebrew, they're saying, pretty much saying, you know what I mean, Salakia, if there's anything that's mistranslated or mispronounced, because the Hebrew doesn't have the same strength or force as when it's translated into a language of our captivity. So they translated from the original language to the language of our captivity. So when you translate it, it doesn't match up quite perfectly as the original language. But this is just one of those instances that you just got to remember. Again, don't forget what you've been taught trying to learn something new. So this says that man means out, but man means of. So you read it in English, yataza'a means went out or come out. So mataza'awa means came out it, talking about the animals and the families. Came out it. Basically, or it came out. Man meaning of. Out of. And then ha, thaba, the ark. So yataza'awa, man ha thaba. Came out. It came out of the ark. Right? Are you going to Salakia?
I will be hataba.
Come. Con. That's another word that I got familiar with reading these past couple weeks. Because we've been reading about knowing the ark. So every time you see ark, thaba, thaba, thaba. And you'll see the ark. So ha-thaba. So anytime you see the ark, ha-thaba. Right? And that's how you kind of help yourself too. Like, you know that the topic that we're reading about is Noah's ark. So you're certain words that you're going to see over and over. And that's kind of how you build vocabulary, and that's how you keep yourself from getting stuck on certain words. You just, all right, I know I'm gonna see this over and over in this book, chapter, verse. But Salakia, go ahead, Bruno. Or
What Yaban?
Or you wanna break? Or you wanna keep going? It's up to you. It's all you. I'm on sign first. All right, go ahead. Come.
Wayaban,
Come.
Naka,
Knock.
Nah,
Noah's name.
Matazaba,
Come. And it's like if I could. So matazaba is another one of those words, right? That where you add, or it might be because you're full or the chart, I don't know. But so ma tazaba is that example when I was talking about that ma. When you add a ma to the beginning of a word, it just makes a new word. So ma tazaba, or slacker, ma tazabach is altar. You take the ma off and it's tazaba. Tazaba means sacrifice, or it's like a tazabach means sacrifice. All right, so that's just another example. I just wanted to point that out. Salaki to interrupt. You go ahead, Salaki.
So this is pronounced Matazaba.
Khan,
Correct?
Khan, matazabach.
La Yahweh,
Khan,
Wayakwa,
wayakwach.
Mayakwa,
Khan,
Makala, Makala, Makal,
Khan,
Makal, Ha, Bahama,
Khan,
Ha, Tahawa, Tahawara,
Khan, Khan. Tahawar means clean, or tahar. Tahar means clean, right? Or tahawar in this case, Salaki. So
Wabakal.
cap tahawar means clean.
Oh, so that's Ha, Tahawar,
Ha tahawara.
Tahawara.
It's just a tahawar with a servile tense at the end.
Wabakal,
Khan,
Ha, Awapa, Awap,
Khan. Bird.
Ha, Tahara, Tahawar,
Hatahar.
Hatahar,
Khan.
Wayaal,
Khan.
Ayla,
Ilah. Khan.
Ba, Matazaban, Bak, Matazabak,
Khan. Bama tazabak. On the altar.
verse 21. Wayarach,
Khan.
Wayahawa,
Khan.
is it Atha or Oth? Oth,
Khan. Yeah, yeah.
Rayach, Habayahach, oh, Habayach, Ha,
Bayakacha.
Kach. Chach.
Ha Bayakacha.
Slakia. Ma. Or Slakia. Na. Hanaya. Chach.
Hanayaka.
Ka.
Wa Ya'amar.
Ka.
Wa Yahweh.
Ka.
All Labaya. Labawa.
Labwa.
Labwa.
Lab is heart. Was just a possessive,
Labwa.
meaning his. Labwa.
Labwa.
Ka.
All
La.
Salaki. La.
La.
La'a.
Ka.
Asap.
Ka.
La Kuala. La Kualala.
La Qualo.
La Kualo.
Ka.
Iwar. Salaki. Awad.
Ka.
Ath. Ha. Adama.
Ka.
Ba'ai. Bawar.
Ka.
Ha. Adama. Kawa.
Adam.
Ha. Adam. Salaki. Kawa.
Kaya.
Kaya. Salaki. Yatazara.
Yatazar.
Yatazar. Salaki. Yatazar. La Laba.
Lab.
Lab.
Ka. It's hard again.
Ha. Adama. Ha Adam.
Ka.
Rai.
Ka.
Manai. Rayawa. Manai. Rayawa.
Bana ire yawa.
Ma. Somebody say that again.
Ma na ire yawa.
Ma na Raya.
Ka. Ma. It's like a ma.
Yawa.
Ma na ire
Ma na
yawa.
Raya.
One more time.
Ma na ire.
Ma na
Ka.
What about the last two?
Yawa.
Yawa.
Ka.
Right.
The ya is just a buffer. The
Ma.
wa is a
Na Ra Yawa. Wala. Wala'a.
ka.
Asap.
Ka.
Iwad.
Ka.
La Kawath. La Kawath.
Lahakawa.
Laha Kawath.
Ka.
Ath.
Ka.
Ka. Haya. Salaki. Kaya.
Ka.
Kashar.
Ka ashar.
Ka Ashar.
Ka.
Aishayath.
Ashayath ya.
Atiyashya.
Ka. Ashayath ya.
Aishayath. Okay, Salaki. I didn't even see that last one. Salaki. Aishayath. Ya.
Ka.
Verse 22.
Ka.
I call Yamaya.
Ka.
Ha. Salaki. Ha. Arataza.
Ka.
Tazarai.
La.
Salaki. Zarayai.
Zarai.
Zarai.
Ka.
Wa. Quataza Yara.
Wa Kwatazayor.
Wa Quataza Yar. Waquar. Waham, Wakwaya, Wakwaya.
Is that Taza?
Yeah.
Okay. Wakwayatazu,
Con.
Wakara,
Con.
Wayawam,
Con.
Yala, 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 Wayala,
Con. Wa la ya la.
Wala Yala,
And night.
La'a,
Con.
Yashab, Thawa, Yashab Thawa,
Con. Yeshab the one.
Yashab Thawa.
Yes.
You want to go to 9?
You said tonight. Oh, yeah. That's the next one.
All
Okay,
right.
most times. Are you wanna take it for real?
She's going to 8:30, right?
Yeah. So 8:30, then I'm gonna hop down and I'm gonna put the words on the board because that's I want to teach that next because these you're gonna see a lot of these conjugations for past and future tense. So I'm gonna put those on the board and then add to it as we go. But go ahead. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and do it right after this. So you can read verse 1, and then I'm gonna go ahead to the board.
Ya, Ba, Waya, Ba, Waka,
So how do you say bless?
Ya, By, Barak,
Khan. Barak is blessed. So you just add the two prepositions at the beginning.
Waya, Barak,
Khan.
Allah, Yahim,
Alahayim.
Allah, Yahayim,
Khan.
At,
Khan.
Nak,
Khan.
Wa'at,
Khan.
Ban, Bayawa,
Khan.
Waya, Amor,
Waya Amor.
Waya Amor,
Let me see. Let me make sure. I just went off of what I heard. So like,
Waya Amor,
oh yeah. Waya Amor.
Lahum,
Remember what hum means, right? It's one of these words I'm gonna put on the board in a second.
no, I don't remember.
Hum. It was in that long word. It means they or them.
Lahum,
Lahum, to them. All right.
Pawa,
Con.
Pawa,
Par wa.
Pawa,
Con. So par means fruit or fruitful, and then wa means it or
Wa, Ra, Wabawa, Waba, Wa, Ra, Wabawa,
uh-huh.
Wa, Mala, Mala, Wa,
Con.
At,
Con. And then the last word.
Ataraza,
Say it. Try that one more time.
Rataza,
Con. Ha ratazar.
Try to say hey.
Meaning what?
the earth,
Con. Ha ratazar.
Yeah.
Ha
I'm trying to
ratazar.
say it fast. I do it, but I'm trying to say
Con. Yeah. It'd be like that as long as you make that correlation, like when you see it. So Lucky, let me unshare my screen. But yeah, as long as you make that correlation when you see it, like all right, as soon as you see
I know the
Earth,
words. I'm trying to say it fast.
You'll get there. You know what I mean? You'll get there once you just as long as you recognize it. All right, let me turn this to the board real quick. I'm gonna put this on the. I'm just put this up real quick. So, brothers and sisters online, you know what I mean, or if you're in class, I would write this down in your notes. We're gonna go over the first half of this concept. All right, we're gonna go over this first half of this concept, and then next week we're gonna go over the conjugations for past tense. We're gonna start with past tense. You see a lot of past tense. You see a lot of past tense. We see future tense reading in the scriptures, but you see past tense a lot. So let me see. You know, what the camera's doing. All right, no sir. All right, we already got the numbers on the board, right? Let me see. Let me grab from the wipe this off real quick.
Yeah, pretty much. I got everything up out of there, man. I gotta take all this stuff down here. What you going to? I started on a job down there, so I'll be back and forth here throughout the week. See that in the day. Yeah, that's the main thing.
All right, let's go ahead and get this off the board real quick. Now, if you ain't got the numbers 1 through 10 and then 100, if you know what I mean, if you watch it online, just rewind the class. Make sure you take a screenshot, or you know what I mean, get it in your notes. You know what I mean, it's gonna be very beneficial to you to know these. So 1 through 10, and then a word for 100. You know, 1 through 10, and then 100. You can count from 1 to 100, right? But you can't count from squat if you don't have it in your notes. Okay, you can't do it unless you know what I mean, you commit to memory, which is kudos to you. But most of us ain't like that. We ain't built like that. You know what I mean? Especially trying to learn, trying to relearn our language, and then you know what I mean. A lot of us we still learning English. Like you learn English every day. I mean, you read in a book, or I mean, I don't know if people read anymore, but you read in a book, especially when you read in the scriptures. I would hope brothers are looking up words. Like you see a word in the scriptures when you read it in English, I would hope you would look up the words that you don't know so that you can. It's going to be essential to your breakdowns because that's what your Christian pastor don't understand. That's why they think that God loves everybody. That's why they think that your brother or your neighbor is, you know what I mean, some white person that lived next to you, rather than your neighbor, like it says in I believe it's Leviticus. It talks about who your brother is. Your brother is, or your neighbor is your brother. But just little bitty words are going to be so essential to your breakdown, especially when you're teaching, when you're battling, and when you want to cut a Christian. You know what I mean? Definitions are going to be your, you know what I mean? The finest details are going to be the thing that kills the entire doctrine of the Christian church. So I would hope brothers are looking up words and learning new words every day. But my point is, brothers are learning, you know what I mean, still learning English, and you know what I mean, trying to learn this new language and to connect or bridge the language barrier between blacks and Hispanics, Hispanics and you know what I mean, Jamaicans and Haitians and Dominicans. We try to learn one another's languages. So we try to learn all these languages plus this language. It's not necessarily wise to try to memorize everything. It's like, did you want to run to the store? Okay, no sweat. And we'll talk about it later. You still gonna be here? Mm-hmm. Okay, no sweat. But so I would advise you try to memorize everything. Just write it down. You know what I mean? Don't play yourself. You know what I mean? You might remember today, but then you're gonna go to sleep. You know what I mean? You're gonna go out later have a couple drinks, you know what I mean, go home, be a rib, or to your kids, start dealing with some other stuff, and then before you know it, your mind's off of it, and you forgot everything that you learned today. So don't try to memorize it, just write it down. But you know what I mean, you built like that, you built like that. But anyway, if you don't have the numbers, rewind the video, take a screenshot, get it down in your notes. All right, we're gonna go through this next thing. A Slack. You might pass me that book right there. The water. All right, so these words right quick, you're gonna need for this next concept. All right, so I just want y'all to get these words real quick, and then we're gonna go over a concept later. We kind of talked about it last week. We're gonna go into it in depth next week, either at the beginning of class or at the end of class. All right, so the word for I, if we're not using a preposition or possessive to say I, right? If you're saying I, it's Anya. Like in General Shawamar's name, his name is Anya Shawamar, meaning I'm watching. Right? So Anya, I am, or I am. Alakia. You, we should already know this one. You is what? Go ahead, beat me to it.
You is
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barak.
Barakayah.
Barakatah.
Barakatah.
That's a thah.
Thah.
You.
You.
A thah is you.
Barakatah.
Thah is you. All right. Salakia. He. Is ha wa ah. Hawa ah. All right. She is typically, and I'm saying typically for a reason. Typically, she instead of hawa is ha ya. Ha ya. And I'm saying typically because you'll see haya'ah a lot of times for she. It's not really used often. Last week when we was reading, I saw hawa'ah in place of she. All right. So I think hawa'ah can be used interchangeably sometimes for he and she, but just, you know, just for having it in your notes sake, just write down haya'ah for she. All right. We. And just a sidebar. These are not words. These possessives, they're not words. They're possessives. They're things you add to words to build a sentence. But they're not words. Like words are things that you look up in your concordance. You can't look up ya in your concordance and get me or mine. Or you can't look up ka. You can't look up the what and it's gonna say we. All right. These are words. These are just possessives that indicate something. All right. So when you see, like, if you don't have a word to attach a preposition, like if you just want to say we, you know what I mean? You don't have a word to attach a preposition or a possessive to. So you wouldn't just say Noah. You wouldn't just say Noah in thin air. You know what I mean? But for you to use possessives, you have to have a word to attach it to. When you don't have a word to attach it to, when you're just speaking in a general sense, these are what you're going to typically use, right? So that's why typically, like when you start a sentence off, it'll say Anya. Or, yeah, like when you start a sentence off, it'll typically start with Anya or a th or a slakya. When you're first introducing a thing, usually it'll just use these words. But a lot of times it's hard to just say I without, you know what I mean, or you without, you know what I mean, having a word to attach it to. All right. Unless you say like, okay, who's there? I. Right. It is I. You know what I mean? But you might. I'm just trying to think of some examples off the top of my head. But anyway, but so like that's the purpose of these. These are words that you just use in a general sense when you're not necessarily attaching them to root word. Or for easy pronunciation. Like for example, like brothers and sisters was trying to figure out how to say I love you a couple weeks ago. A lot of times the word is anya ahabyuka. That's the phrase. Anya ahabyuka. You could say ahabyuka. That's not incorrect. But is one of the prepositions that's not used as often. So da, or slakia. Da. There's a couple of them. You just won't see them often. And that's just one of them. But slakia. I don't want to get too far off. We, all right? We is anak Noah. Anak Noah. Right? And then once you well, I'll go into that next week. That's gonna be the topic. Well, yeah, that's gonna be the topic for the next week. So I'm gonna go into that later. Y'all, remember our language has y'all in it. So y'all is so you is a th, y'all is what? God. Thumb. So if I say bless y'all, be Barak a thumb. Bless y'all. Right? Lock you. And then I'm gonna write this down here so I can break down because I'm gonna add to this later. All right. Y'all and them. We just went over this. Here, you got it? Them. This is the reason why I'm down here doing this. Because we saw it in the scriptures tonight.
Oh, I don't remember saying.
Okay, no problem. It's in that long word. And then I think it was in that last, in Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1, it was the last word. I believe. La. It's, I'll just put it up here. It was hum. Hum.
Concept.
I think we saw it twice tonight. In that long word, or in that long phrase, and then in the last verse that we read. God, yeah, lahum. So to them, lahum. And then what was it? La ma shapakath yahum. La ma shapakath yahum. That was the long word. To their families. La ma shapakath yahum. All right. Let me leave it right there. Any questions or comments? I know brothers and sisters gonna be watching, might be watching this late, or you know what I mean. Especially as you're coming up, like when I first came into you know what I mean, when I first came into Truth and I started like doing the Lashawan Qadash class, I would just binge watch classes. So it'd be classes from years ago. You know what I mean? Which is why also sidebar, it's important to like really make sure you like, even if you have nobody in the class, like a lot of times when you're teaching, it's gonna be nobody in the physical class. But whether there's anybody in the physical class or not, you teach the camera and you teach like, you know what I mean, as thorough as possible, because you never know, brothers from, you know what I mean, brother might come in 2, 3, 4 years from now and go back and watch your classes, and you don't want to, you know what I mean, teach a half-hearted class because there's nobody in the physical class. You know what I mean? So, but it's like I said that to say, if brothers, you know what I mean, is watching this later, or you know what I mean, whatever the case is, you can put your questions or comments in the chat, whether it's live or not. I'll take a look at them when I get to it, and I'll respond to your questions. I'll respond to your questions or comments in the chat, and then you should get a notification. Otherwise, if you don't get a notification and you got the chance to watch live, you can just re-ask your question, and I'll do the same thing. I'll just go back, look back 4 questions from the previous class, and then I'll respond to it that way. And again, you'll get the notification. All right. Next week, we're going to talk about how to conjugate these words, or how to conjugate verbs based on these words, based on past tense. All right. And we'll go into a deep breakdown of like what all of that is. But this is a lot of times, like this is, you can add this to your tenses. So you got your doing tense. The simple way, like the general way to do, you can add this to your tenses as well. Yeah. If you see a root word, just like, okay, if you see a root word with a Y in the middle, that's your doing tense. If you see a root word with a ya in the middle, that's a general, I don't know if we talked about this before, but that's the way to indicate past tense in a general sense. Like, if we're not saying I looked, or you looked, he looked, she looked, if we're just saying looked with no subject attached to it, then you'll just add the ya in the middle to indicate past tense. But if you're saying I look, then you'll conjugate the verb. So we'll go, huh? Well,
I do.
Go
Like
ahead,
I said, I do pronounce it I guess you'll say yeah.
Con. So you'll say anya. What's the word for looked? Or let's use a word that everybody should be familiar with. Spoke, dabar. So I spoke, dabar, right? Anya, dabar, I spoke. But if you're just saying spoke in a general sense with none of these attached to it, you might see dabayar. You know what I mean? A ya just in the middle of a root word. Or dayabar. Same concept as the doing tense. But what we're going to go into next week, you're going to want to add to your, not add to your tenses, but be aware of them just like you are, just like you would be with Salakia. With any tense like, what's it called? Your doing tense, your pluralization tense, your, you know what I mean, things like that, your categories, all of that, all of those things, you just want to be aware of them. So when you see them, you're like, I know what this is, I know what this is. All right, but that's what we're going to go into next week. And with that, we'll say I majum, which means to stand. We'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers. The visual majum Shabbat, majum, Barak. Yadim Matah. So I'm going to turn his face to sisters, give a courtesy salute to the sisters. The visual majum Shabbat. I majum, Barak. Yahweh Shemar Latam Bashim Yahushua. Yadim Matah. Dismiss.
Rocky, I was just calling.
Calling me? Okay, more time crazy.